It wasn't that long ago that we had a look at the high-spec hand-wired Stoner drive, which featured their Tone IQ system, which essentially lets you control the input and the output EQ of the pedal, along with a 6-selector diode switch. This is another one of their pedals. This one is called the Creamsicle. Yeah, look at that. Love the artwork on this one, by the way. But this is a far simpler pedal, just two knobs called Level and Cream. I'm going to plug it into a Marshall JTM 45 and we're going to have a listen to what it actually does. Alright, to get started, I'm playing my YJM Strat. It's actually a YJM neck and pickguard on a Warmoth Mary Kay White Strat body, going into the Creamsicle, going into a Marshall JTM 45. My greenback cab is sitting in the other room and I have mic'd it with a Sennheiser E609 microphone right on the sort of speaker cap edge, and then that's running into my UAD Apollo Twin where I'm using the Neve preamp emulation. This is what the guitar sounds like straight into the amp on the neck pickup. So you can hear that is right on the edge of breakup there, and we'll start off with the Creamsicle level control at about 1 o'clock, and then the cream control is totally off, so I'm going to show you how to use this essentially just as a level boost. What I like with this sort of setup is it immediately makes a Strat running into a Marshall, which can be a little bit brittle and tinny, sound fatter. Have a listen to this. And then if I bring the level up, essentially I think of this as like adding another gain stage to the Marshall. You get the Marshall right on the edge of breakup, and then if we take the control to about 3 o'clock, we get this. And then all the way up. So that is how I like to set it, and then what I would do is bring in a bit of the cream control if we started at 9 o'clock. As you can hear there, it gets nasty, but not in the sort of like super brittle fuzz kind of way. This just sort of has the effect of turning up the master volume like to 11 basically. I'll give you an idea. On the actual amp, if I turn the volume up, this is what happens. So it's essentially like a more extreme version of what I can get out of the amp on the volume control, which is why I like it. It's not one of those things where it drastically changes the overall tonality of your amp, especially if you're using an amp that doesn't have a master volume. So it's going to sound vastly different if you run it into something like a Twin or something like an AC30. Or, you know, I guess it might sound a bit similar if you run into a Bassman to a Marshall JTM45. But the whole idea there is that it's working as an extra part of your amp. You know, people always talk about, when we're talking about drive pedals, you know, how it interacts with like the guitar and then also with the amp. I tried the high-spec Stoner Drive, and that's one where you've got the, I think they call it like the Tone IQ system, so you can kind of tailor the input and the output EQ, which is kind of cool, because then you can sort of fine-tune the interaction between the pedal and your guitar, and then fine-tune the interaction between the amp and the pedal, whereas with this just works with the amp really nicely, so I just kind of think of it as an extension of the amp, which is pretty cool. Yeah, there you go. That is the high-spec hardwired Creamsicle with a Strat. Let's try it with a humbucker guitar. In this case, because the guitar's already pushing the amp so hard, right over that edge of breakup, the pedal, like I said, it's just really doing a different thing than it's doing with a Strat. With a Strat, it sounded like an extension of the amp. With this STR LJ1, essentially a Les Paul style guitar, feels like an extension of the pickups, like you've just got sort of more gain on tap with your volume control. So yeah, different guitars, different sort of applications with that one. I should mention again that, as with the Stoner Drive, everything's hand assembled. You can see the artwork on there looks pretty pristine as well once that focuses. The top mount jacks are probably going to divide a few people, but again, you know, good on them for trying something different. And I am a fan of this very simple operation. Basically setting the level control to about 1 o'clock with the cream off just made my Strat sound fatter and less kind of brittle, which is exactly what I want when I'm playing a Strat through a Marshall kind of thing. Basically for that sort of Ritchie Blackmore thing. You know, guys in the 70s used to plug their guitars into tape machines and or an Echoplex and turn everything off just for that sort of effect, where it just kind of gives your guitar a little bit more body, takes some of the harshness out of the top end. And that's what I found like I was getting out of the level control with this. And then adding the cream control just acts like, you know, the all the way past 11 control on an amp without having to actually crank the amp up and kind of deafen yourself. So very cool little pedal from I don't know what happened there, but yeah, very cool pedal from High-Spec Handwired. I wanted to give these guys a shout out because they are from my hometown of Perth, and it's good to see more Aussies manufacturing pedals, especially when it's handmade stuff, and it's cool and it works well with your amp. So if you guys enjoyed the video, as always, hit subscribe. I'll put some information in the video description, and I'll see you all around very soon. Stay excellent.